Today's movie is Halloween. Welcome to Teacup For One.
Groovy, baby.
My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees. And today for the Teacup For One Spooky Movie Marathon, we are venturing into uncharted territory with a legitimately scary movie. The guiding principle behind my selections for pretty well the whole Spooky Movie Marathon has been picking movies that embody what I personally love about Halloween, things that are equal parts scary but also fun. Because I have this thing where I 100% can't handle certain types of scares. I wouldn't even call them scares, I'd call them excessive, uncomfortable violence. So like, think Saw, Hostel, Saw 2, Saw 3, Seesaw with a Vengeance, or whatever like Saw 6 is called. I can't do those. I can't see humans being violently mutilated, just as like, it's not a thing. But I do enjoy being scared just as much as the next person. And so when someone told me that Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, one of the films that started the slasher film genre, had little to no blood, I was very intrigued. And so last night, for the first time, I sat down and I watched Halloween. Whoa. No, and for anyone who gets just as confused about this as I do, Halloween's not the one with Jason. No, it's the one with Michael Myers. No, not that Michael Myers. Michael Myers. Thank you. I feel like I'm probably the last person in the world to actually watch this movie, but just in case, here is a quick synopsis. Halloween is a slasher film from 1978, directed by John Carpenter? Yeah, John Carpenter. And it's about an unwell individual named Michael Myers who is sent to a sanatorium after killing his sister when he was only 6 years old. And he was dressed like a clown, which if there was any way to make it creepier, that was it. 15 years later, he escapes, he steals a car, and then he goes to his old neighborhood wearing a doctored William Shatner mask and decides he's going to start killing all the babysitters, except Jamie Lee Curtis survives, and she's the final girl, and lots of people write essays about that. And, he can't die, apparently. Okay, so what did I think? The best way I can describe it is likening it to the first time I rode Space Mountain as a 29-year-old. After a lifetime of being too scared to try it or to give it a chance, by the end, I was a little scared, a little thrilled, and a little bit underwhelmed. And I just kind of took a good hard look at myself in the mirror and thought, really? That's what you were scared of? That was it? Now, don't get me wrong, I think Halloween is an incredibly well-made movie. It was just a bit of a slow burn getting there, but by the time we got to the third act of the film, it delivered on all of the scares and all of the thrills that I was expecting, and it did not disappoint. Oh, it also made me feel really bad for babysitters. And what really struck me is how well this movie has aged. Like, it's not one of those horror films that you watch and think, okay, I understand why it was scary at the time, but it really doesn't hold up. Yes, offense, Frankenstein. The thrills and the fear factor are still present, and it all still works. And I was just watching the movie thinking, I can only imagine what an experience it would be watching this film in a dark theater with a full audience. I hope theaters come back. Wear a mask. Thank you. And the reason the film works so well is because of its simplicity, and I love movies like that. Movies that have a simple, story-driven narrative that allows for something really exciting to unfold in otherwise mundane, boring circumstances. Because, like, just think about it. With this film, at the very beginning, you just plant the seed of the fact that we have a known killer on the loose. And just having that little nugget of information in the back of your brain makes it that much more terrifying when you see him standing across the street from Jamie Lee Curtis, or you just see the mask lurking in the background. And I think a lot of the credit in this film for building tension goes to the soundtrack, and rightfully so, but I was so taken by how good the direction and camera work are in this movie. And of course, we have to talk about the score. And there's really nothing I can say about the music in this film that hasn't already been said by smarter people than me in a more eloquent way, but the score is great. And I'm normally not a fan at all of films using musical motifs to just like hit you over the head with a certain emotion or a certain feeling. Yes, Lord of the Rings. Anytime you're supposed to feel sad, they just like show you a hobbit crying and then it goes do 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 Mr. Frodo do 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 the strawberries. But the musical motif in this works so effectively. Lower key change. Good luck getting that out of your head. I really only have two criticisms about this film, and they're not even really legitimate criticisms. The first being that I thought the main cast, or specifically the teenagers, were kind of boring, but that just seems to be a thing I've noticed in movies that came out of the 1970s. All the teenagers have this very apathetic vibe to them, where they'll just talk and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, hey Lori, so you're babysitting tonight, huh? Well, I'm babysitting too. I think it's gonna be totally groovy." Like, groovy's the 60s, whatever, it doesn't matter. Who knows, maybe that was a personality trait that was just a thing in the 70s. Just the result was that I didn't really care about many of the supporting characters, so that when they died, I was just like, man, and I was just left rooting for Lori, who was the only one that I really liked. Oh, maybe that was the point. Also, unrelated note, it is such a weird disconnect seeing young Jamie Lee Curtis, but still feeling like she's old Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know what I mean by that, just it makes sense in my head. Okay, and my other criticism is just the fact that Michael Myers just wouldn't bleep and die. And it's probably something that's explored in depth in the sequels or in the rest of the franchise, but just as a first-time viewer, going into this movie knowing nothing and just assuming that he's a normal guy wearing a mask going around stabbing people, it was just a little weird that he could survive being shot and stabbed so many times with no indication whatsoever that there was something supernatural going on, except for that like mini speech where he said, "I saw evil behind his eyes." But like, I say that about people all the time. However, the fact that he just wouldn't die came off as more unsettling than anything, and I think that's a testament to how well made this movie is. Under most normal circumstances, if there was a character that survived that much with no explanation, I would either be infuriated or I'd be laughing at it. But every time he just kept showing up, it just unsettled me more and more. So I guess really the big takeaway from my experience watching Halloween for the first time is that John Carpenter is an incredible filmmaker. And yes, I know, I'm late to the party, but I'm here now. I just love how little it took for him to create something so terrifying and so long-lasting. Like, it was just a mask, a knife, and a good script. That's all. And by all accounts, this is a movie that I really should not like. It's a violent slasher film that's very dependent on its soundtrack, and the acting's not that great, but I really enjoyed it. And I really want to watch the sequels, even though Wikipedia tells me that they're not great. Anyway, for now, friends, that concludes yet another episode of the Teacup For One Spooky Movie Marathon. Now, let me know in the comment section down below which of the Halloween sequels are worth my time. And if you want to follow me for the next 2 days of my Halloween spooky movie marathon, or be the first to know once November rolls around and I start making videos about Funko Pops and Disney fan theories once again, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. You get another chance coming up right now. It's the easiest thing in the world. All you have to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me again today, everyone. My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees, and that's the Teacup For One. Do